So good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. Um, my thought for you, of course, and I said this yesterday, when the world feels like it's tilting again, which it is, right? The world always seems like it's tilting, that our yoga practice is the thing that we are asked to turn to as a way of centering ourselves, right? Because the mind can immediately run away with whatever it hears, whatever it sees, whatever it imagines is going on. And it can easily go into that place where the emotion of the moment becomes the reality of eternity, right? As we feel that we just can't possibly get out from underneath that while something is going on, often somewhere in the world that is so far removed from us that we're like, there's nothing I can do except sit here and be miserable, except sit here and worry, except sit here and feel what I feel about what might happen, what could happen, what has happened, etc. So we get lost in that. And this is what the yogis or the sages would say, this is getting lost in your suffering, right? Getting lost in that feeling that there is so much in the world to grieve about, be worried about, be upset about, that you forget that there is anything else, right? And so our practice, what I've been saying when I said yesterday, is to find something that steadies you, right? Not to look for, here's the solution to those feelings, because if we look for the solution, how do I get rid of this? We're going to get enmeshed in it even more, right? We're going to get even more upset because there is no mantra, there is no meditation, there is no asana practice that you can do that is going to eradicate those feelings, right? Or that's going to make the outside world stop doing what it's doing, right? It's not going to end suffering in the way that we know that people are being hurt in the world. So if we go into our practice thinking that, we are going to have maybe temporary moments where we forget what we were upset about. But then when it comes back, it reinforces this feeling that it's always going to come back and that we're trapped, right? So the practice is not so much to try to get rid of those feelings, but to steady yourself, right? And the steadying, the quote that I've been using is from the Ramayana. It's Hanuman talking to Ram. And Ram is the incarnation of Vishnu, incarnation of God, who really is in the suffering of the world in the story, right? God in human form in the suffering of the world, saying to Hanuman, do you even know who you are? Right? And Hanuman says, when I forget myself, when I don't know who I am, he says, I'm in service to you. I do everything I can for you to uplift you. But when I remember who I am, says, then you and I are one, right? And what we're asked to kind of remember from this quote or from this reality is that when we are caught in those places that sometimes we say are dark or scary or, the suffering of the world, is that you don't have to solve that, right? When we forget who we are, then we do our best to serve the good that is in front of us, to serve the world that is in front of us. And we don't get a choice about that. That's the Hanuman story, the Ram story, is that you don't get a choice about what's in front of you to serve. You don't get to decide. But what is in front of you, there is always opportunity for you to serve, right? For you to tap into what's in you that says, I can uplift this world that's in front of me. And maybe I can't do anything for those people that are across the world directly, but I can do something here right in front of me to start to work with fear, to start to work with the suffering that's appearing in front of me in my own life, because that will impact them, right? So our practice is that we steady ourselves through service because we are confused and we don't know what to do. So we do anything that helps us get out of that state of mind that there's nothing we can do. And then at some point, right, the other end of this quote is that at some point, the service itself starts to help us run through those patterns in us that are empowered, starts to run through those patterns in us that are full of hope, that are full of the awareness of what is still really important in our humanity, that's still really important in the world, even though we might be collectively going through something miserable, something difficult, right? And in those moments where we stop trying to fix it, but we actually steady each other to go through it in a healthy way, in a constructive way, that's when Hanuman says, Ram and I become one. Where there's not this effort that says I have to somehow put back together a broken world. But there's the feeling of I can move through this world, even though it's chaotic and I'm not in charge, but I can move through it in a steady way. And if you're struggling, I can reach out a hand and steady you too. Doesn't mean that any of us have the answer, but it means that together we move through it in a way collectively, where we are on the other side is not anywhere where we were before we began. Right? It's uplifted, it's elevated. So this is our practice, right? Is to not try and find solutions to those feelings, but to find a place where you can become steady, even though every day you might wake up and there's still fear. Every day you might wake up and unfortunately look at the news and say, oh my God, the world is burning, right? So this is our practice, is to not try and solve those feelings, but to get steady with them and to be steady enough that we're not just trying to push everything away so we feel okay, but where we're actually able to reach out that hand to someone else who is struggling and say, let me help steady you, right? So that's my suggestion, is that you use your practice in this way, that you find what it is for you that is that tether, right? That tether that says that there's still really useful, productive, important things for me to do in this world, even though I'm not in charge of some of those big collective things. But there's always something you can do, even if it's just breathing. You know, Cheryl was doing Tonglen practice in class yesterday. Beautiful practice. You breathe in that experience of collective challenge, suffering. And what you breathe out is the knowledge that there, even within that, there can be ease, right? And however it can find its way to those people who need it, may it find its way, right? So if that's the least you can do, just open yourself to that you hold energetically, and that you continuously through your mind run that thought, run that pattern, that may ease and peace come to those who need it, however it can, because it's not up to us, right? It's the story of Hanuman and Ram. It's not up to us how it happens. But we're the ones that either keep that door open where good things continue to move through us, or we're the ones that shut it down and say, I won't participate, I'm too scared, right? So keep your doors open. Comfortable seat if you're not there already. Let the eyes close. When I forget who I am, I serve whatever inside of me feels like it is the biggest version of love I can connect to. I do that. And at some point, if I am doing that all the time, it will feel like it becomes effortless, or I'm no longer trying to fix things, but I feel that as I move through the world, healing happens through me. And just that subtle touch allows healing to happen for someone else. And you don't have to know how. It's not because of you. You didn't do it. But you left the door open, and they benefit. A deep breath in and a deep breath out. Drop your attempts to try and fix what's going on in your mind. And a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Stop trying to fix what's going on outside of you. And so when you breathe in again and your mind says, well, what else is there? Breathe it straight down into the space of the heart. It says there's a space here that just cares so much about this world. And let me be moved by the place in me that just cares. And whatever actions stem from that, that's what I offer up to that bigness. That's what I offer up to humanity, to God, to whatever name I have. That's that repetition of Ram. Every hug you give, Ram. Every message you send, Ram. Every thought that runs through your mind, even if it's a fearful one, you say, not what I meant, Ram. Just keep running that through you until it feels like it's effortless. One more breath, deep breath into the heart. Steady yourself. And as you exhale, release, bringing the hands together in front of you, palm to palm. We'll open, sound of Om, deep breath in. Let the eyes float open. Nice, you guys. You can release your hands, please, and then come forward onto hands and knees. And start to cat-cow your spine. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Begin to move with your breath, inhaling, getting the spine nice and long as you lift the heart up, the tail up and back, stretch the belly. And then exhale, curl and round, dropping in as you pull the rib cage up and wide. Good. I was tempted for a moment. I started yesterday's class with ego eradicator. You haven't done that one in a while. If you were in class yesterday, you're like, oh, thank you for not doing it again. Ego eradicator, breath of fire. Only 3 minutes. And you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like long when you're doing it. 3 minutes sometimes feels like eternity. Good. Move your spine a little faster, please. So still very conscious movements of your breath, but move your spine a little faster. You can always leave the throat a little bit more in a neutral space and just really work through the rib cage and the tail. So you don't have to keep dropping the head. You don't want to be flinging the head up and down. Good, but move your spine a tiny bit faster. Nice, you guys. Good. The idea that we can start to clear the immediate interpretations that the ego has come up with about what everything means to us. And instead start to look at where are there places where service is possible, where support is needed. And can I step into that? Not for me, for those who need it. Good. Bring yourself back to stillness, please, or back to a neutral spine. Spread your fingers nice and wide, tuck your toes under. Keep the back of your throat lifted, draw up and in through your low rib cage, and then just lift your knees up off the floor an inch or two. So hover the knees up off the floor. Good. And then start to squeeze them forward as you push your hips back, almost like you're trying to do a child's pose, but hovering in the air. Yeah, so push your hips back, keep your knees as low as you can. I know it's big stretch for the toes, big stretch for the ankles. Nice, good, Ralph. One more breath, you guys. Pull your knees forward, press your butt back. Good. And then start to lift your hips high to the sky, taking yourself into downward facing dog, letting the heels soften towards the floor. Awesome. And then walk your feet forward towards your hands, come to the top of your mat. Good. Standing forward fold. So lift and spread your toes. So you can feel the balls of your feet rooting down, but your toes lifting up, and then let them get really wide. So you can feel big toe mound, baby toe mound of both feet, but toes are lifted and spread wide. Good. And then take those toes back down to the floor as wide as they can be. Grab a block and place the block between the upper thighs. Good. And then fingertips on the floor or a block, again, if your hands don't touch the floor comfortably. Good. Bend your knees, keeping your hands on the floor or your block. Hug the block between the legs. So drop your hips low, like you're coming into chair pose, but keep your fingertips on the floor. Good. And again, feel inner and outer edges of your feet. So spread wide through the balls of the feet. Nice. You're hugging the block, but try and pull your sit bones wide, and then scoop into your low belly, please. Drop your hips just a tiny bit lower. Make sure your knees are moving back on top of your ankles, and then start to stretch the arms forward just to parallel to the floor. So ribs come parallel to the floor, butt moves back. Good. And drop your hips even lower, like you're trying to parallel your thighs to the floor. Good. Lift the back of your throat. Nice. And now any amount, keep your hips where they are, but start to lift your chest even higher towards chair, but don't take your hips higher. Keep your hips where they are and start to just lift your belly up off your thighs. Yeah. And then release the hands back down to the floor, please, or your block. Start to straighten your legs. Keep the block between the thighs. Come up on your tippy toes. So roll your weight forward towards the balls of your feet. Lift your hips even higher. And again, try to roll your weight towards the big toe mounds of your feet. Yeah. So you're rolling towards the inner edges of the legs. Beautiful. Good, you guys. Then drop the heels flat again, trying to keep your shins as forward as possible. So your heels come to the floor. Don't let your butt fall back behind your heels. Nice. And then bend your knees again, dropping the hips nice and low towards chair. Again, taking the thighs close to parallel. So butt moves back, knees over ankles. And then take your torso up to parallel the floor. Good. Yeah, that squeeze of the thighs. If you keep clenching there, it's going to start to get really tired. So don't clench, but hug. Widen your sit bones. So feel as though you are flaring or you're opening the lower back. Good. Lift the back of your throat, drop your hips. Any amount, start to lift yourself up higher into chair, but don't move your hips. Keep your hips just this low. Nice, Andy. Good, Meryl. Good, Susan. You got it, Kristen. Come all the way up to stand this time, pressing through your heels, still hugging the block between the upper thighs. Good. Let your shins move forward so that your knees are not locked. And then draw the tops of your thighs back. And then take your right hand to hold your left wrist. There you go. And lean to your right. Good. Keep the tops of the thighs back, you guys. Really easy here to start pushing forward through the pelvis. Beautiful. And then start to round your rib cage, taking those hands towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. We see like a dolphin dive, right? So take your whole upper torso towards the upper right-hand corner, round into your side ribs. Good. And then stay really rounded, pull up through the back of your rib cage and start to stack that left rib cage on top of the right again. Open the armpit, look up underneath like you're looking towards the sky, but keep the tops of your thighs back. Yeah. And then pull all the way back up to center. Nice job. And then switch the hands, please. So left hand holds right wrist. Good. Get super long, lean to your left. You got it, Carla. Nice. Good. You guys keep rooting down through that right foot. Keep awareness in the legs, tops of the thighs back. Good. And then start to take your torso towards that upper left-hand corner of the mat. So change the angle. So you're rounding into your ribs. That's important. You're not just leaning, but you're pulling up and back. So the tops of your thighs, your belly, everything should be pulling back. Good. And now stay rounded, but start to stack the right rib cage open on top of the left. Turn underneath that armpit. Good. Look underneath. Nice, Mia. And then pull yourself all the way back up to center. Nice, you guys. Release the hands all the way down to the floor, standing forward fold, Uttanasana. Good. Place the block to the side, please. Step your right leg way back behind you. Take a nice long lunge. Good. Drop back knee to the floor, please. Use a blanket if you'd like. Inhale, both arms to the sky, Anjaneyasana. Good. And then bring your right forearm onto your front thigh, please. Yeah, start to take that left arm over the ear, reaching towards the upper right-hand corner of your mat. So start to open, twisting through the ribs. Your right forearm is on the front thigh, and then your left arm is over the ear. So you're twisting your ribs open. Nice, Marlene. Good. Don't let your belly fall onto your thigh here, you guys. And don't let your right shoulder get really crunchy. Keep drawing the shoulder away from the ear. Beautiful. One more breath. Let your hips move forward. Take your belly away from your thigh. Good. And then unwind, stretch the arms up to the sky. Good. Drag the front heel and the back knee towards each other. Lift your heart even higher. Don't sink into your hips, but pull up through the heart. That's it. And then release the hands all the way down to the floor. Nice job. Lift the back knee, please. Step your right foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Parsvottanasana. Use blocks underneath the hands if you'd like. Good. On Wednesday, I was doing one of those classes, I haven't done it in a while, where I think 93% of the poses involve the block. You never had your block out of your hand. And this is the sort of thing, right, to remind us of consistency, is we think that we practice consistently, but the truth for most of us is that we don't, right? We practice haphazardly, mostly, again, to try to take the edge off when we're feeling overly emotional. So that consistency, again, is important because it's what makes those grooves in the brain. It's what makes the grooves in the nervous system, in the emotional patterns, that allows there to be that feeling of effortlessness. So we don't have to fight so hard to find in us the ability to serve, or the ability to have something that counteracts fear, that sits right next to it. So don't only do it when you're at the height, like, oh, this is the worst that I've felt in a while, let me do something about it. Engage with it every day, right? Don't let a breath go by where you think that there's nothing to experience inside, right? Turn your right hip forward just a tiny bit more, please. Come up on your left heel. So as you lift up on that heel, again, lift the toes. Good, and spread them wide. Drag back and down, so it feels like you're pulling that left thigh bone up into the hip socket, and then feel that left hip pushing wider. So imagine your lower back being completely level here. Good. And then release the left toes back down to the floor. Inhale, lift your chest a little higher, get longer through your spine, pull the hips back. And then exhale, bow deeply again, rounding into your belly. So as you round here and curl up, press into your feet and press your hips up towards the sky, and stay rounded in your back. Good. And then bend the left knee, please. Step back to downward facing dog. More smoothly than I said it. Nice, Emily. Bend your knees a lot, please. Butt moves back and down towards your heel. So again, here we tend to arch in the lower back. So I want you to fold through your waist. So curl into your belly, try and drop your hips a little lower, and then start to cat-cow your spine. Good. And if this position is really not sustainable, either for the feet or the ankles or any other part, you can always drop the knees all the way to the floor and cat-cow there. Good. Nice, you guys. Do you cat-cow with the same attention in down dog, or do you do it as quickly as you can, saying, when is she going to be done with this? It's the question, right? Do you actually like this? You don't have to answer. Good. Come back to stillness, please. Lifting through the back of your throat. Take your hips high to the sky. Let your heels soften towards the floor. Downward facing dog. Good. And then left foot steps forward between the hands. Lunge. Good. Drop the back knee, please. Use a blanket if you'd like. Oh, I'm sorry. Right foot steps forward. Switch your feet. We step back with the right foot. So right foot's got to come forward. Right foot forward. Left leg back. Drop that back knee if you'd like, please. Inhale both arms up to the sky. Not if you'd like, definitely drop the back knee. No choice there. Good. And then you're bringing your left forearm on top of that right thigh and taking your right arm towards the upper left-hand corner of your mat. So it's like you're coming into a twist, but it's not a prayer twist. So you're dropping the left forearm onto the front thigh, taking the right arm over the ear, reaching towards the opposite corner, turning your rib cage open. And then don't let your hip fall inward with you. Push your left hip wide to the left. So you maintain this feeling of space between the thighs, and you have that stability. The pushing wide helps stabilize you. Nice, Marlene. Good, you guys. Take one more breath. Really reach through the side waist. Pull your belly up and in. Beautiful. And then unwind the arms, stretching both arms up alongside the ears. Reach for the sky. Good. And then again, let your pelvis move forward, but don't sink into your lower back. Pull up through below your belly button and lift your sternum towards the sky. Good. Let your arms fall wider. Let your throat fall back. Yeah. Nice, you guys. And then pull yourself all the way back up to center. Good, Andy. Release the hands down to the floor. Nice job. Tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Step that left foot forward just a little bit. Take both legs to straight. Uttanasana. Nice, Jane. Good, you guys. Keep turning that back hip forward and lifting through that right side low belly. Good. Yeah, it's very difficult in body awareness to be really clear on what your pelvis is doing in this pose. So even if you are doing your best to adjust, don't worry if it's still wonky. Nice, you guys. Continue to press into your feet so your hips get a little bit more feeling of lift. You're not falling into your feet, but your feet are helping connect you to this sensation of elevating. Good. And then come up on that front heel, please. So lift the toes up off the floor and press down and drag back on the heel. Feel yourself pulling up through that right thigh bone. So you actually have to engage some of those deep abdominal muscles to pull that thigh up and in. Almost like you're trying to actually lift that foot up off the floor, but you can't because you're pressing down into the heel. So pull it up, suction, and then turn that left hip forward. Nice. Spread your toes. Good, Dina. Nice, Rachel. Both Rachels. And then release that right foot back down to the floor, please. Come up on your fingertips or on your blocks, lift and lengthen, pull your hips back a little longer. Good. And then as you exhale, bow forward again, curling into your low belly. So again, rounding into your back here so that you can get more connection to your legs. Feel big toe mound and baby toe mound of both feet. Good. Nice, you guys. And then bend the right knee, please. Plant the hands, step back to downward facing dog. Good. Take a deep breath in and then drop the knees to the floor. Come onto hands and knees. Oh, take a child's pose. Go ahead. I know. We'll go on to the next thing in a second. Take a child's pose. I saw the look on your faces when it seemed that I wasn't going to say child's pose, and you looked sad. So child's pose. Find your breath. Find your willingness, right? That is the 100% teaching of Hanuman, is that because we don't always get a choice about what service means, is all we have to have is a connection to our willingness, right? So we call devotion. And if devotion sounds like it's something that's too flowery, often in my mind, I'm like, I'm not sure what that means, but I have a willingness to get up and be dirty in this world, right? To get my hands dirty, to be involved. And if I have that willingness, my service might not always be easeful or what I want it to be, or simple or pretty, but I can still serve. Even in the messiness of my own self, I can still serve. And this I love, because if that idea for you does the same thing for me, where devotion is too far away from what my mind is doing, service is never too far away. Right? Service is just getting up and being willing to see who's in front of you. And even just that, acknowledging that someone in front of you is having a challenge, just being in that space of acknowledgement is the beginning of service. Walk yourself back up onto hands and knees. So don't cut yourself off from that. That's the idea, right? Don't cut yourself off. Because as long as you have that connection, Hanuman says, as long as you have that connection to that willingness inside of you, is that you have a connection to Ram. Take your right leg up and back behind you in line with your hip. Then walk your left arm forward in front of you. Lift it up in line with the shoulder. Good. Draw in and up through your low rib cage. Yeah. Nice, you guys. Good. And then just really feel yourself continuing to press down through the hand, press down through the shin. Feel yourself rising up and extending. Press through the top of your head. Good. Nothing more elaborate than this. Just be here. Fingertips to heel. Good. And then slowly release back to hands and knees. And go to the other side. Take your left leg back and up behind you. Walk the right arm forward in front of you. Good. Take your balance. Pull up through your rib cage. Pull up through your front of your pelvic bone. So again, it's like you're trying to create this really level surface through the front of the body and the back of the body. So you're hugging everything up through the core. And it's not just one place. It's all places. Ribs up, pelvic bones up. Nice. Good, Perry. Nice, Diane. Nice, Meredith. Good, Joy. Find your steadiness, right? That this is one of the greatest benefits of this pose is there's nothing elaborate, but find steady. Good. And then release back to hands and knees. Nice. Circle your hips, please. Because I guarantee that you gripped too hard trying to stay steady. So circle your hips, let go of your grip. And move your hips the other direction. Right, the other overarching theme in the Ramayana, besides this story of how we are in service to each other, is dharma. Right? The word that we use, that it means foundation. It means, we often associate it with this concept of having a personal destiny or a personal purpose that you are born for. Come back to center, please. Good. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, come into downward facing dog. And then take your right leg up and back behind you, down dog split. And bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack the right hip on top of the left, and then come up on your left fingertips. Good. So this might be enough of a balance for you. Let that left heel soften towards the floor. Remember that same feeling of pulling everything from the front of the body up into the back body. Some of you might want to play with taking that left hand up to reach back for your ankle. You want elaborate, right? So you're in down dog split with the knee lifted like a fire hydrant, and the opposite hand reaches up and back to find the ankle. And again, if that sounds like a terrible idea, stay where you are. Nice, Barry. Good, you guys. Nice, Mark. There you go, Lynn. Nice. And then release the hand, please. Stretch that right leg straight back behind you to down dog split, and step the right foot forward between the hands for lunge. Good. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat. Come into warrior two. Shoulders over the hips. Good. We tend to do a lot of standing poses as a method for helping the energy of the self not only to ground, but also to find those patterns that feel like there is strength, right? That feels like there's opportunity, that you can still move underneath the weight of those emotions. Left hand drops down the left leg, right palm spins up and back, reverse warrior. Sometimes we call it the peaceful warrior. So what does it mean to turn all of that emotional energy that feels like it can be destructive, to turn it towards peace? Not to try and get it to be something else, but just turn it in the direction of what creates peace. And then come all the way back up. And when you have no idea what that is, again, you look around you, where can you serve? Good. Take that right hand down to the floor in front of that front foot. Left hand can come to your left hip. Moving into Ardha Chandrasana. So send your weight onto that right heel, onto that right foot, move your shoulders forward, and then again, engage that core body, front body to back body. So that as you lift your left leg, there's a feeling of control that you're lifting from your core. You're not flinging that leg up into the air. So move your weight forward first, and then lift the left thigh. That was nice, Taylor. And then stretch that left arm up to the sky if you'd like, or keep it at your hip. Nice, you guys. Squeeze that right top thigh around and in. So it's going to feel like you're swinging your left foot forward towards your belly so that you can take your right sit bone back. Beautiful. Reach back for the foot or the ankle if you'd like, or stay where you are. Yeah. There's a beauty in staying. Nice, Marjorie. Good. And then extend the leg all the way back out. Beautiful. And then very purposefully step yourself back into warrior two. So no sound. Nice. Beautiful. Everybody in the room made no sound. You guys at home got to cheat. Left hand down the back thigh again, please. Right palm spins up and back, reverse warrior. Good. Still reaching towards the back of your mat. Start to straighten your right leg. So you're in that sort of reverse triangle position. Lift your right hip up higher. So you're pulling that hip bone up off of your thigh. Beautiful. And keep reaching. Nice. Good. And then bring yourself all the way back up. Bend the right knee again, back into warrior two. Take your hands back behind you. Interlace the fingers. Good. Turn your chest forward towards the front of your mat. Draw the rib cage in, bow inside your front thigh, stretch the arms up and over any amount. So your back heel is still in warrior two. You're keeping that foot anchored, but you're turning your ribs, bowing deeply. Keep pulling back through that right thigh. So you have the energy, the weight distribution moving between the two legs, not all on the front leg. Excellent. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Good. Spin your back heel up. Both hands come inside your front foot. So your hips are now square. Bring that right shoulder inside your right knee. Slide that right hand behind the heel to the baby toe edge of your foot. So you're wrapping that arm behind the calf. You got it. Press down into the hands. Feel your chest lift just a little bit higher. Good. Curl into your low rib cage. Send more weight into that back foot. Lift that back thigh. And then come up on the ball of your front foot. Good. So you're lifting the heel. Nice. So some of you might stay here. Some of you will bend those elbows a little bit more. Let that thigh rest on your upper arm and start to lift that right foot up off the floor. So it's like you're doing a little arm balance split. Good. Nice, Rachel. I know. If you just having your heel up off the floor is like, that's plenty. Stay. Nice, Lisa. You got it. And then go ahead, release that foot back to the floor. Unwind your arms, please. Downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Drop the knees to the floor, child's pose. Oh my God. You're like, please, can we do the class with the block instead? I'd rather breathe for 90 minutes. Oh, breath of fire for 90 minutes. Breath of fire for 90 minutes, you probably would combust.
Yes, exactly.
Find your breath, you guys. The hilarious thing is that none of you have collapsed yet. We have a second side to do. It's always possible. But if you breathe steady through these poses, you breathe steady without thinking, oh my God, what's coming next, is you'll do it. And this is part of that Hanuman thing too, is that the whole time in the story is he has no idea what's coming next. He doesn't know that the next minute he's going to be asked to leap across an ocean. And then he doesn't know that he's going to be asked to, by himself, invade a enemy city to go try and find some random woman he's never met, right? He doesn't know that he's going to get captured. He doesn't know what's going to happen next. But it's that steadiness that allows us to just keep moving through the world as it continues to be what it is, which is chaos that we're not in charge of. Or rather, there's a movement to it that we're not in charge of. The yogis would say it's not chaos, but to our minds it is. So if we get caught up in how hard we think everything is, we'll never move forward. We'll never step out of our front door. So stay steady, find what steadies you, and then serve the best way you can. Get out the door. And the rest of it will start to appear in front of you. That's what we call dharma, what appears in front of you that you step into. Right? Dharma is not a career path. It's what your life sets in front of you that makes you step into yourself bigger. And that's written deep in the heart. That's not written in your mind. That's written deep in your heart. So it doesn't matter what the details are. Your dharma unfolds. You can't hide from it. Bhagavad Gita teaching, right? You can't hide from it. But it's up to you in how big of a way you step into it, how much you resist. And Hanuman says, why would you resist? Just serve. Come back up onto hands and knees. So go into the second side with your mind completely free of whatever is running around in there. Downward facing dog. See if I can remember what we did. Downward facing dog. Good. Left leg comes up and back behind you. Down dog split. Yeah, we started here. Bend the knee, kick your heel in towards your butt, stack your left hip on top of the right, come up on your right fingertips. And again, this might be plenty. So it's the opposite hand. If you want to look for that balance, remember, you have to really draw up and in. Feel that thigh bone pulling up, pull your rib cage up and in. Maybe try and reach that hand just off the floor. Maybe it doesn't reach for the ankle, but it just reaches up and forward. Nice, Judy. Good, Teresa. You got it. Don't rush. If you fling yourself into this, you're going to fall out of it. Pro tip, don't rush. Nice, Susan. And then slowly release the hand back to the floor. Please stretch that left leg back to straight, down dog split. Good. And then step the left foot forward between the hands, lunge. Drop the back heel, baby toe parallels back of your mat. Take the arms up to warrior two. I know, don't move slower because you're like, all right. Don't move slower. Move with the same motivation, same interest. Good. Nice, you guys. Drop the right hand down the back thigh. Take the left palm up and back. Reverse warrior. Keep that front knee over the front ankle. Beautiful. Again, turning the energy that is within us in the direction of peace, in the direction of where things are in equilibrium, harmony, where we don't feel that we have to fight the world. Come back up to warrior two, please. Good. And you're reaching that left hand forward and down in front of you for Ardha Chandrasana. Right hand can come to your right hip, again, to steady you, if that works. Use a block if you'd like. So with the knee bent, slide that hand forward. Again, shift your weight onto that left heel. Find that steadiness on your hand. And then navel to spine, rib cage to spine, lift that right leg up, stacking the hip. Ardha Chandrasana, but not flinging yourself. Good. Draw the toes, the right toes slightly forward so that the front of your right thigh is not pulled back behind your left heel. Pull that left butt cheek back and in. Nice. Right arm can reach to the sky if it has not already. Nice, Mia. Good, Marlene. Nice, Maral. Good, Kristen. Nice, Carla. Good, Beth. Excellent. Reach back for the foot or the ankle if you'd like, or stay. Good, Jane. I like that. Nice, Lori. Good, Nancy. Good, Emily. Chest open, you guys. And then extend all the way back out, arm and leg. I know it's hard not to fall out of your pose. And then very skillfully step back to warrior two. So no sound. Again, you got to bend that front knee. You got to trust that standing leg. Step back to warrior two. Nice, Ralph. Good. Really good, Lori. Drop the back hand down the back thigh, left palm spins up and back. Take your reverse warrior again. Because every breath that you take, peace might seem like it's coming from a different direction. So you have to keep moving yourself there. Where is it? In what direction can I change? Can I orient myself that feels like it's peace? And then come back up to center, please. Arms wide. Good. Oh, I'm sorry. Lean back into that reverse warrior again. So lean back, straighten the front thigh. That's where I was going. So you're in that reverse triangle pose. So pull longer through your side waist because I don't want you to miss this opportunity to lift your left hip point up, decompress that front thigh. Good. Now bring your torso back up to center without letting that hip collapse back down. Keep it lifted. And then bend your left knee back into warrior two. Take your hands back behind you, interlace your fingers. Good. Turn your chest forward towards the top of your mat, but keep your back heel rooted. And then bow inside the front thigh. Take the arms up and over any amount. So again, do your best to kind of square your shoulders to the top of your mat. So you're pulling your left butt cheek back and in. Good. Nice, you guys. Excellent. Let your head touch the floor. There it is. Good. Release the hands down to the floor, please. Beautiful. Spin your back heel up so you square your hips. Oh, both hands inside the front foot. Bring that left shoulder up against the knee as you slide your left hand behind the left heel. So it comes to the baby toe edge of your foot. And you're pushing down into the hands. Your elbows are bent slightly, kind of like chaturanga arms. And then feel your chest lift a little higher against that. Lift your throat. Kick your back thigh higher. That's the key here is you got to use that back leg. Move some weight back into that foot. And then come up on the ball of your front foot. Lift your heel. And then again, you're pushing into your hands. That front thigh can rest on that upper arm or on the shoulder. Start to lift that left foot up off the floor, any amount. It's really great, Rachel. I love it. Good. Nice, you guys. You got it. And then slowly release the foot back to the floor, whatever it did or didn't do. Unwind your arms, please. Good. Step back to downward facing dog. I know. Slide forward to plank pose. Lower down slow to your belly. Rise up, cobra, lift head, neck, and chest. Exhale, release back down to your belly and stay. Make a pillow with your hands or turn one cheek to the side. Say a prayer of thanks to whatever version of Ram or universal energy you like. Yeah. Sometimes we get really wild in our practice thinking that if we just do a lot of core work or we just do a lot of standing poses, is that we're going to master our fear by overpowering it. It doesn't really work. Let your breath get deeper here. Feel the back body expand. Even though that usually feels pretty good to us, we like the feeling of the back body expanding. It can also feel a little vulnerable. And that's really what we're working with. It's not that we are trying to master fear, it's that we're trying to become comfortable with that vulnerable feeling that rises up the moment that our mind recognizes that we're not in charge. We don't know what's coming next. So we brace for it, tighten. We think, well, I can just get through this day if I just push that emotion away, that thought away. I can get through the day. So our practice is to become steady in that vulnerable feeling. What steadies us, what many of the great teachers say, what steadies us in this world is service. Is finding something that is not just trying to protect you, but that gives you that connection to others who are also struggling, so that we steady each other. And the little bit that you know that you can do allows you to keep going. You get to keep moving forward. Keep the door open. And maybe it will lead you into those big arenas where you are directly impacting big things. Even if it stays small and it seems that it's just in your own neighborhood, you work with fear and suffering and challenge, and it benefits all beings. One more breath where you are, breathing into the back body, releasing wherever there is the tension that comes from fear, emotion that's been held back. And walk your hands back alongside your rib cage, please. Good. Bend your knees, kick your heels in towards your butt. Press down through the tops of the thighs. So you're keeping your knees rooted to the floor. Hands are alongside your ribs. Press down into the hands. Begin to drag the chest forward. Rise up into cobra, keeping the knees bent. So rise up, rise up, rise up, drawing the heart forward, squeezing the upper arms back, and then pull your low rib cage up off the floor just a little bit higher. Good. Squeeze those heels in. Again, like the heels are going to come to your head one day. That's it. Yeah. Nice, you guys. One more breath, lifting the heart as high as you can, feeling that stretch through the thighs. Good. And then release the belly back down to the floor, please. Release the feet. Press up onto hands and knees. Come back to child's pose. Or Dharma in the story of the Ramayana. The Dharma of many beings seems like not at all what you would necessarily choose. Right? Ram gets exiled from his kingdom. His wife Sita gets kidnapped by a demon, held in captivity for over a year, just about a year. Tortured every day, right? And Hanuman exists before he meets Ram, not knowing who he is or what his purpose is. But it's so many of the characters in this story that are the smaller characters that make the big difference, right? It's an old eagle that, flies in the face of the demon king to try and rescue Sita and dies in the process. Moves the story forward, right? It's the brothers who get left behind in the kingdom who keep everything running while Ram is away and make sure that, the people are taken care of, move the story forward. It's the monkeys who everyone writes off as being not very useful at doing anything that are the army that actually defeats the demons. Moves the story forward. So you never know what small action you do is going to be the thing that keeps the door open for the story to move forward, for peace to continue to find its way where it didn't have an open door before. So don't try and guess your Dharma. Just see what's in front of you and where your heart calls you to go there. That's your Dharma. Walk yourself all the way back up, please. Good. Come up onto your knees, a high kneeling position. Grab a block for between the upper thighs if you'd like for Camel Pose, Uttanasana. Good. And again, if you want to use blocks for reaching behind you, if reaching the feet is not a great option, you can always use blocks underneath the hands as well. Good. But the block between the thighs is a nice reminder. So come up, butt up off of your heels, so as tall as you can get. And then as you're hugging that block, remember, it's not just a hard squeeze, but it's a rolling in. So you want to roll your groins back, like you're trying to actually almost move that block back behind you. And then stretch your arms up, take your hands behind your head. Begin your camel pose with your hands behind your head. Let your elbows come slightly forward. So again, you're getting that feeling of being able to round into your middle back. Good. Pull up through the front of your pelvic bones. Drop your tail. Good. And now hugging that block, keep your spine in this straight line. Start to hinge back just a little bit as though you're going to lean straight back and bring your butt to your heels. Good. And now start to lift your sternum up towards the sky. Start to rotate from the back of your shoulder blades. Draw the heart higher, higher, higher. And then if you'd like, drop the hands, reaching for your feet or blocks or whatever is behind you. Or keep your hands where they are. Keep hugging those thighs in and rolling the groins back. If your hips are pushing forward hard and your butt is clenching, draw your sit bones a little wider, get more into that squeeze behind the heart. Lift your chest. Nice, Judy. Good, Rachel. Nice, Lynn. Nice, Sarah. Come all the way back up. Strength of your thighs and your navel. Good. And then release the block to the side, please. Drop your hips down to your heels. Forehead to the floor. Good. Either reach back for your ankles or take the arms back along, or take your hands interlaced at your low spine. So you're either reaching back for your ankles or interlacing the hands. Good. Roll up onto the crown of the head, please, lifting your hips, rounding your back. If you're holding your hands, you can stretch the arms up and over for the shoulder stretch. Good, but keep rounding into your back, push down into your shins. Good. And then slowly release the hips all the way back down, release the arms. Nice job, you guys. And then go ahead and find your way all the way back up to sit. Wow. Now you're taking really deep breaths. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. You're like, I can't help it. It's survival. Taking deep breaths. Stretch your legs out. Good. Right leg stays extended, please. Bring your left knee in towards your chest. Good. Foot flat to the floor. Step your foot slightly wider to the left, so a little further away from that right thigh. Good. And then you're taking your left arm up to the sky. Right hand comes alongside your right hip, left arm up. Good. And then you're leaning your shoulder inside that left knee. So come into a forward fold with your left shoulder inside your knee. So you're reaching for that right foot. Good. So reach as far forward as you can. Extend, 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 extend. Keep that right foot awake. Good. Nice. And then go ahead and bend your left elbow, please, for a moment, and place that left hand to the floor. So your upper arm is pushing up against your left shin. Yep. And you're still leaning forward. Good. So this is step number one. This is where you might stay, right? The second option is to move into a bind here, where with your chest forward, you wrap that left arm all the way around the front of your left knee and take your right arm around back behind you to hold hands behind your back. Keep leaning forward, squeezing that knee in. Lean, lean, lean. Get moving the belly towards the thigh. Good. Nice, you guys. Beautiful. So shoulder stretch. And again, if having the hands on the floor, leaning forward with the elbows bent is where you're at today, that's perfect. Nice, Dan. Good, Harriet. Good, Dina. Good. Take one more breath, lifting and extending the chest just a little longer. Good, Teresa. Nice, Ralph. And then slowly release and unwind. Beautiful. Bring that left foot closer in towards the thigh, step it all the way over the thigh, and then wrap your right arm around your right knee. Take your left hand back behind you, spinal twist. Good. Also a lovely line in the Ramayana where the character who is the direct cause of Ram being exiled, kicked out of his kingdom, right? Causes family strife, just makes a whole mess of everything. And Ram's brother is ready to kill the woman who, is the cause of all of this. And Ram says, no. He says, leave her alone. She's doing exactly what she's supposed to do. Don't hate her. She's suffering more than anyone. He says, and certainly, he says, do not take revenge. Do not take violence out in this world in my name. He says, don't do that for me. I don't want it. This is part of our practice too, is to look at those places where we are willing to hate the people that we have labeled our enemies, the ones that cause pain in our lives. Come back to center, please. Keep the foot where it is. Take both hands to the outside of your right hip. So just counter twisting. Good. And keep your chest nice and lifted here and shoulders still drawing back. So you're opening through the chest and lower back. Good. And then bring yourself all the way back to center, please. Unwind that left leg. Take it straight out in front of you. Good. And then bend the right knee. Bring it in towards your chest. Plant the foot a little wider to the right. So there should be a little space between your right foot and your left thigh. Good. Right arm comes to the sky. So that same side arm comes up. Left hand comes outside your left hip. Lean forward inside that right knee. So find that forward fold, like you're reaching all the way to your foot. Get your chest all the way forward. Good. And then bend that right elbow, pressing the forearm up or the upper arm against the shin. So you find that feeling of, again, drawing the shoulders wide. And again, this might be where you stay, right? Just with the hands planted and arms wide. Or go for the full bind, wrapping that right arm around the front of the shin. Stretch the left arm back to hold your hands, either on the outside of that hip or the lower back. I see some people like to twist in this pose. It does make it a little bit easier. My suggestion is do your best to keep trying to square your shoulders forward. I think you get a little bit deeper shoulder stretch doing that. But either variation, totally fine. Just keep the back of your throat up so your head is not hanging in an uncomfortable way. Nice Melody. Good Joy. Good Marjorie. Really nice Perry. Good, you guys. Yeah, one more breath. Lift your chest, press your butt back. That's it, Rachel. And then slowly release, unwind your arms. Good. Bring that right foot in and step it over your left thigh. And then wrap the left arm around the front of that knee. Take your right hand back behind you, spinal twist. The whole premise for the Ramayana is, said to be a question. One of the sages asks, says, can you please show me the perfect man, the perfect human? How would that human being live? And the example is Ram, right? A guy who has plenty of suffering in his life does not escape any of that. Has his mental breakdowns, his moments where he says to his brother that he doesn't think he can go on, doesn't want to live. We skip over those parts of the story a lot because we like our heroes to be heroes, right? He's also the guy that says, don't hate the people who have caused pain and strife. They're suffering more than anyone. And if you start doing violent things in the name of what you think is peace, he says you will create so much more pain for yourself as well as others. So just watch. Watch what goes on in your mind. Slowly come out, please, keeping the foot where it is. Take your counter twist, both hands to the outside of the left hip. Lovely to have our heroes be real. And for you to know that you yourself, like Hanuman, never considers himself a hero, even though he clearly is in the story. He does so many great things. But that you too have the capacity to do great things, even if they seem small. But we have to have willingness. And that's what we call devotion, the willingness to every day be in the mess of ourselves, mess of the world. And then try not to forget, what direction does peace lie? Unwind yourself, please, taking both legs out in front of you. Good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Again, if you need a blanket underneath your seat here, absolutely have it. Interlace your fingers, press the heels of your hands up towards the ceiling so you're stretching long. Good. And then draw the navel up and in. Get a little hollowness in your belly. So almost like you're trying to round up and over a ball as you come forward. Round and extend. So round through the lowest part of your belly, but then extend from the middle of your back. And for some of you, you can actually hook your hands around your feet. Go for that. Good. If that's not possible, don't worry about it. Nice, nice, nice. Nice, Harriet. Dina, good, Diane. Beautiful, you guys. One more breath wherever you are. And then slowly release, walking yourself all the way back up. Great job. So turn yourselves around. Those of you in the room, please turn yourselves around, head space center of the room. If you are at home, just come on down to your backs. An opportunity here for one more back bend. So if you're feeling like you're pretty much just done and you just want to put a block underneath your sacrum for a supported bridge, that's perfect. If you want to come into bridge without the block, perfect. If you feel that you want to come into full wheel, you can plant the hands alongside the ears and find your way into full wheel. If you really super duper want to flip over onto your belly and come into bow pose, or even come all the way back up for camel, lots of options, but find one more back bend of your choice. Good. Nice, Jane. Good, Emily. I like watching you choose. Good, Lori. Beautiful. Just watch your feet, Lori. They're turning out a lot. Just start to see if you can start to turn them forward again. Nice, Andy. Let's separate your hands wider, Ralph, if you can. There you go. Good. If you're in full wheel or an active bridge and you're ready to come down, slowly let yourself release back down to your spine. If you have the block underneath you and you want to keep it there another couple breaths, keep it there. I forget who I am and everything feels like a struggle. Turn that struggle into service. I don't know what supports me in this world I serve. When I do remember who I am, then I know that that energy that we call peace and love and all the things that we are aiming for, that will move through you without effort. You will still do whatever it feels like you are called to do. But you'll know that that free flow of energy is not something you struggle for. It's something that's just there. Your last breath here, if you are still on the block. And then go ahead and lift your hips up off the block, place it to the side, slowly release, finding a moment where your knees are bent, spine relaxing to the floor. Beautiful. And then bring the knees in towards the chest, please. And cross your right thigh on top of your left, so stacking the knees. Separate your feet wide, reach for your ankles or your shins, Gomukasana. Good, having the knees angled in towards the belly, relaxing the shoulders. And then see if you can find a little bit more of your sacrum that can reach down for the floor without letting your knees fall away from your belly. Good. And then release and switch the legs, please. Take the left thigh on top of the right, separate the feet, reaching for ankles or shins. Keep your feet flexed and see if you can find where your ankles are in a straight line, because we tend to pull on the feet and then the ankles angle inward. So again, trying to find that integrity of both sides of the ankle being held steady. Really nice. And then unwind the legs, please, squeezing them in towards the chest. And keep the right knee in, extend the left leg down to the floor. And bring that knee across your body into a spinal twist over to the left. And then optional here is to bend your left knee, curl it in towards your butt and reach down for the foot or the ankle. So you take a quad stretch if you'd like. Second option is to use that left hand behind your right thigh or to reach for the right big toe and straighten that leg in the twist. So you can be doing the quad stretch, you can be straightening the top thigh, and get as elaborate as you want, as wild as you want, right? Good. One of my favorites when you do this position in yin, and usually you are, in some way holding the back of that left leg. It's called cat pulling tail. Take one more breath. And then slowly unwind yourself. Like the unwinding is the most important thing you'll do all day. So come out of the pose really consciously. Good. And then extend the right leg down to the floor. Pause for a moment so you're not just rushing to the next side. And then hug the left knee in as you're ready. Bring that knee across your body into the twist on the other side. Again, setting yourself up very consciously. Again, you have the option to bend that bottom knee and reach down, left hand for the foot or the ankle, taking the quad stretch. You have the option to extend that left leg to straight, either holding behind the thigh or reaching for the big toe or the ankle. You have the option to be here tense in your mind and miserable, or you have the option to let your breath get a little deeper, engage with sensation, and start to become comfortable with being vulnerable. Right? We do not get to choose our circumstances often. We get to choose in what ways we uplift and in what ways we serve within those circumstances. I forget who I am. I look around desperately. What direction can I serve? How can I maintain a connection to the world, not hide? when I remember who I am, then I know that everything that I am called to do, drawn to do, is automatically in service to what we call that great Dharma. The Dharma of the universe that says that you are here as you are, to be exactly as you are. That is your Dharma. And everything that you do will be in service to uplifting that shared collective experience. You don't need to guess what's the right thing to do. And you don't need to judge, did I do the right thing because it didn't turn out the way I thought that it would? I didn't solve the problem. Maybe not, but you left the door open. And that's all we're doing, is we're leaving doors open and we're holding out hands, steadying each other. Ram Dass actually puts it, we're just walking each other home. Eternally walking each other home. Slowly unwind your pose. Again, like the unwinding is the most important part. How you come out is more important than how you got in. Good. And then as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest. Come into happy baby, drawing the knees wide, reaching for the ankles, inner or outer edges of the feet. Melody, good Harriet, good Joy. Thanks, Meredith. And then squeeze the knees back in towards each other. Lift your forehead up to meet your knees, hug. And then slowly release, stretching yourself out for Shavasana. Again, kind of imagining that this is the most important thing you'll do all day. It's how you prepare yourself to let go of the tyranny of your mind. How do you prepare yourself to let go of trying to protect yourself or hold yourself back? You don't have to make this in your mind something big, but as you drop into Shavasana, just let your breath get really big. And don't try to make your Shavasana pleasant, just breathe really big with whatever's there. Very gently bring the awareness back to the breath, whatever comes with that. Letting your body begin to stretch and move, whatever ways serve it well. And as you're ready, draw your knees in towards your chest, roll to your right side. Take a moment before you begin to push the floor away. Come back to an upright seated position. And bringing the hands together in front of the heart center, palm to palm. The mudra that says, how may I serve? In what way can I step into my dharma? And it's interesting, right, that our human condition is that there is always someone somewhere suffering. When something is new, we get all wound up about it. And we conveniently forget about the suffering that's been going on under our noses the entire time. So just remember that as your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts continue to ride those ups and downs, that is the outside world. That inside, it's the steadiness to keep opening the door and being in the messiness of that world that carries us. And it doesn't matter what the current story is for the suffering. It doesn't matter where it happens to be happening in a big way. Can you see where it's happening in all of the small ways all around you, how it's happening already inside of you? Address it there, engage with it there. And then absolutely find the places outside where service is needed and where you can step in, because that is engaging with it in you. As soon as you start to serve in any way, is you are working with your own experience of your suffering. And this is how we do it, is we use our practice to find what steadies us. Remember who we are. And then we hold out that open hand to steady those who are struggling. And at the same time, we leave the doors open that even the enemies, even the people who we think are causing the destruction, we leave the door open for peace to come to them too. And this is what leaves us in that space of being what Ram says, or what Ram is supposed to be, that perfect human that is in the mess of the world, but never forgets that they are a breath of the divine, that never forgets that that energy of love and peace is moving through you, every thought, every action. So steady yourself. You don't have to have any answers today or any day. Steady yourself. And when you forget, we'll remind each other. Deep breath in for Om. Sliding the thumbs up to the space between the eyebrows. We are each one of us the light of the world. No matter how bright or dim you think you are the light. Namaste. Thank you guys so much. You worked hard today. Go get a cookie.
Thank you, Veronica.
Soon. Take a look at your emails so you see all the cool things coming up. If you're interested in Cheryl's moon ritual program that she's doing, you can still sign up for that. New class starts on the 1st, a bowing practice, 6 a.m. every day except Saturday. It'll be online only, so if you want to check that out, the first week of class, it starts March 1st, but that first week of classes you can attend for free. Try it out. So check all of that out. And Kirtan's coming up, lots of fun stuff coming up. Shivaratri's coming up, so don't forget about that either. See you guys soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica.
That was hard.